That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Hypochondriac, the directorial debut of Addison Heimann, which premiered at the 2022 South by Southwest Film Festival and is being released courtesy of XYZ Films on July 29th, 2022.
Directorial debut.
XYZ, I think there's a Liz Taylor film with that title.
I was reading the filmmaker, this story is sort of like based on personal experiences.
It feels like a very
and it does feel very personal.
And it does, after in the introduction, say that it's based on a real breakdown.
That's right. The basic story is very simple. It's about a 30-year-old man living in LA who starts to exhibit signs of mental illness, and it escalates to the point where he's hospitalized. The end.
Wow.
Mean, that's it. But it's crafted like a horror film because he is seeing like visions of like a wolf-like creature.
A man in a wolf costume. Which provides some, I wouldn't call them jump scares, but some moments of menace.
there are also some
Dread.
creative flourishes that give it sort of like a psychedelic vibe. So this film is giving elements of films like The Babadook, Jacob's Ladder, Donnie Darko,
very
among
much.
others. Why don't we start with what we liked?
I really like the lead, Zach Villa, who has another film opening the same day, Vengeance, which we've also
Reviewed. Yeah.
But notably, he's an associate producer, as is the actress that played the mother on this film. And we didn't watch it, but he played Richard Ramirez in American Horror Story 1984.
Oh, well, his character in Vengeance, whose name is Sancholo, I actually thought was a really sweet component to that film. And I agree. I think in this film, this actor's giving a lot.
Kind of, in some ways, doing overtime, really, even to make this work. Even when the film becomes a bit kind of monotonous and disjointed.
I like the poster art.
Oh, yeah. Poster art is very catchy.
Okay.
And I like the final shot of the film a lot, too.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we can get to that. So the film opens with Will, who's played by Zach Villa. Okay, Will is like a 12-year-old, and we see that his mom like scoops him up one night and takes him somewhere and tries to kill his ass, like by strangling him. And then she says, "I'm sorry," takes him to soccer practice or whatever practice he has, baseball practice, and never picks him up. And then we see that there are a lot of this film uses the device of being able to see someone's phone. So we see a lot of text messages, voicemails. We see he gets a text message from, I presume, his dad.
It says dad.
Oh, it does say dad? Saying that, like, sorry, we're late. We have to take your mom to we're
going to the psych ward.
And then fast forward 18 years, and we see Will lives in LA. He works as a potter.
He's a potter, yeah. And
for like this celebrity pottery person.
For a woman named Blossom, played by Madeline Zima, who is the small child on this TV series, The Nanny. In one of these annoying looking stores that looks like it's probably on Abbott Kinney. Yeah,
and it's made very clear that this is like a garbage place to work and his boss ain't shit. So it's made very clear. And it's there that we first see that he has a boyfriend named Luke, played by
Devon Graye.
And we see that he explains to his boyfriend, or we know that he has told his boyfriend his mom is dead, that Will's mom is dead. But we see one day, while he's at work, I believe, his cell phone ring, and it's his mom. So that's creepy.
Alive.
But then we find out she's not dead. He's just saying that. She's alive. She still lives in his childhood home. It's also made clear that his parents were rich because the home he grew up in is like a mansion. It looks like it might be in like Temecula somewhere.
His dad has his own law firm.
Oh, is that what it is? And then the dad's home is like a beautiful modern home. So the mom still lives there. He's getting a lot of text and voicemails from his mom basically saying like, you know, I'm ready to tell you like basically what life's about, and I have all these secrets, and I was afraid to tell you before because it would have blown your mind, but now I'm ready. But
they're becoming more kind of toxic and plaintive.
Yes.
Talking about how she knows who he's dating, and this man named Luke is not good for him, and
so everything culminates with him. He at a point. Will goes to the doctor because he's having like fainting spells, dizziness. His arms are hurting. At one point, he burns his arms. We can get into all that, but at one point, he's released from the hospital, and his dad picks him up, and it's made very clear that the dad is not super concerned about his son or is kind of tired of him. So, and perhaps that's related to dealing with the mom and her issues for so long. But Will tells his dad, "I need to go back to our home, like my childhood home, to get answers." And he does. And throughout the film, we hear the mom say, like, "Don't go in my office.
My domain.
My domain." So he goes to the house, goes in her office. And it's one of those scenes, like in every movie, where it's like the person's crazy and they have a million Post-its, and he comes upon a book.
Like a scrapbook.
Like a scrapbook. And it's about Luke, Will's boyfriend, who she had said she knows something about. And it's like Luke's work schedule. She's been following him. And then at the very end, there's a DVD that says evidence. So of course we're like, ooh, like there's going to be a secret about Luke. No, it's just a bunch of footage from a webcam that was set up in their childhood home in the kitchen. And it's just a bunch of footage of the mom in the kitchen back in the day acting crazy.
Yes, but it's edited curiously, like it's the greatest hits of her acting out.
Yes, up until the point where she harms herself with a knife and then is taken away. So then he goes back home, and then we get a scene of him having sex with his boyfriend, which turns out to be like...
Well, he's told that he's going to have a procedure done, and that is there somebody willing to take care of you? And we see him going to Luke, and then there's this long, drawn-out dinner sequence that turns into a more graphic than I expected sex sequence, and then that ends up being a hallucination.
And then the mom shows up, and she's like, "Oh, since you want to break into my house, I broke into your house." And he strangles his mom to death, like she attempted to do to him when he was a kid. And then we see him stumble to his boyfriend's house, asking for one final chance. Because it's been really rocky, not just because Will is having emotional issues, but at one point, Will, like, hits Luke.
But that's in the delusion.
But it's in the delusion. And then but we don't know that yet. So then he gets admitted to the hospital. So the final scene or act of the movie is Will in the psychiatric hospital explaining all the things. And we find out that he didn't kill his mom.
Told by a very friendly psychiatrist played by Debra Wilson.
We should talk about that. A lot of them, the title of the film to me is a little misleading because we get 5 scenes of Will talking to a healthcare provider. A nurse practitioner, 2 doctors, a therapist, and then the psychiatrist at the end, played by Debra Wilson.
And all of them, except for her, have this cheesy kitten poster that he keeps glancing upon.
But it's very heavy-handed in that the 4 healthcare providers are blowing him off.
I mean, if he goes to Kaiser.
Oh, they even say to him, like, you'd be shocked how the mind can affect the body.
Yeah, it sounds like they're all very scripted.
Yeah, the 4 of them all say the same thing. So in the end, when we meet Debra Wilson as the psychiatrist, she's very concerned and nurturing, and he even says, like, I feel good with you. Mm-hmm. Okay. What I didn't like about the story is I think it kind of cheapens it by crafting it like a horror film with this wolf, because the reality is, imagine being like a 30-year-old who realizes, like, oh my God, I'm exemplifying symptoms, like maybe like of schizophrenia, knowing that I have a family history of it, and I saw my mom affected by this, and now I'm dealing with it. That in itself is terrifying.
And with your dad saying, like, well, if you don't straighten out, I'm just gonna have to dump you off at the psych
ward.
ward.
And you have no one to rely on. I think that in itself is terrifying. So I wish it wouldn't, like, I didn't need all the little extra things, and then I think it needed to have an angle, because it's just doing a lot from so many directions. Like, the shitty job, bad healthcare, the boyfriend, the self-harm that I'm imagining the actual, like, you know, the filmmaker maybe engaged in self-harm, but in the film, it looks like these things are being, like, happening to him. It's just a lot. I wish it would have focused maybe on, like, the relationship with his boyfriend.
I think that, you know, like a lot of films has a tendency to exaggerate kind of the more creative elements, like this horror film, because those are the most visually arresting sequences with these men or boys in this wolf costume that looks quite interesting and eerie until we'd start to discover that he had dressed up for several Halloweens as a wolf as a young boy. So we get to kind of find the key psychologically to what they mean, which kind of denies it that menace eventually. But yes, there's a tendency. It's trying to make this a more interesting, extravagant story than it is.
Okay, I have a lot of notes, so let me go through them quickly. I think the film had a rough start because...
Well, child actors in a debut indie film.
The young boy playing Will, I thought that actor's work was fine, but then we get a scene where he's there with two other boys waiting for the mom to pick him up, and she never shows up. I think those, like the dialogue and those boys acting was pretty crunchy.
Well, one of them goes out of their way to call him an F slur, and it's like...
Yeah, okay. And then sorry to this lady, but the actor playing the mom...
Marlene Forte. She's also associate producer on this.
Well, you know, my radar is very sensitive to...
Lindo.
Because my mom is Mexican and English is her second language. So whenever I see actors trying to do that accent work where, you know... It was a little crunchy.
Oh, pobrecito.
And there could be a game for every time that character says the word lindo.
Yeah, it's doing a lot, and it does become caricature. She's notably a character actor, and so is the actor playing the dad, Chris Doubek, who's been in a lot of things.
But then when we fast forward 18 years and we see Will working in the pottery barn or whatever, he is leaving work, and he has a really bright, bubbly personality. It uses a popular song, the name of which I can't recall, and he's dancing, and then he's leaving work when he sees that his coworker Sasha is having a panic attack in like a closet, and he de-escalates the situation. I thought that was good,
but there's no one there to do that for him.
Right. So then Will is like overworked at this bullshit ass job, and he falls like carrying a box. And actually, I would love to know how that shot was filmed, because it looks
pretty good. Yeah.
He actually fell off that damn truck, but then he hurts his arms. That's sort of the beginning of like, we see a lot of initially him like playing with his hands, like they hurt, and the boyfriend's concerned. And it's obvious that the relationship between he and his boyfriend is still in that early stage of like bliss, but then you're starting to work my nerves, more so from Luke than Will. Will starts Googling his symptoms, which I thought was an interesting scene, because then we get title cards of like, it could be
whatever combination of symptoms he puts up. It's like, that could be ALS.
This
could be schizophrenia.
Or MS or schizophrenia. Then he goes to the doctor and he sees a nurse practitioner named Chaz. And I thought that actor did a really good job of seeming really apathetic and impatient. And it actually, it felt like many visits to Kaiser.
Yeah, are we done here? Like,
yeah, so I thought that was good. But then after that is when we start seeing these visions of the wolf. So ultimately the wolf is explained as... Because Will asks his dad, like, is there anything about my childhood and like a damn wolf? And the dad goes, well, every Halloween you dress up like a wolf.
Well, she has no memory of.
And Will has no memory of that. So I thought that was interesting.
That was interesting, but then at the end of the day, I couldn't disassociate memories of Donnie Darko. Especially with how the mask looks.
And the visuals,
akin to Frank the Bunny, you know.
So again, it's just very heavy-handed. Like all of the medical professionals are not taking good care of him. His dad is not there for him.
Which exemplifies the importance of, living in a city like Los Angeles, and it kind of, that's a relationship as well with your medical health professionals. And, as a young gay man, it took a very long time for me to find somebody that I felt like I could talk to about more sensitive issues. And I think that this film, this experience could have kind of delved more into that too.
Yeah. So one of the doctors or the NP, I think, try to give him like a note for like, you need a week off for stress management. And he tells his boss, and she's like, no.
She's like, I'll hire somebody else.
If you need a week off, I'm just going to replace you. And my first thought was, isn't that illegal?
Yeah, cha-ching.
Yeah, girl, you could have got a check for that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. It was a little jarring to me that when he tells his dad, I want to go back to my childhood home, that it's there. So then it's clear
that just open and occupied?
But then it's made clear that the mom lives there, I guess. There's not a lot of background into what happened to... I also would have liked that too, like this young man's sort of relationship with his mother throughout all this time, and I don't know. But again, it's crafted like a horror film, so then usually all these things are like a surprise. There's a scene in the house where we see Will using the bidet. Mm-hmm. And it's like fully this grown-ass man with his pants down sitting on the bidet. I don't know why we needed that scene.
I think just to establish a level of intimacy for an intimate story, perhaps. But again, it just, some of those, like that sex scene, I think is just like, the
sex scene seemed like, I mean, seeing two men having sex is not repulsive to be honest.
No, not at all. But it's just like, we're doing analingus, okay? And I don't know that he's prepared in his mental health state for that, but okay.
Then, to add to kind of the silliness of things, we get a scene with Will making pottery.
Yeah, he's a potter. Yeah.
He's a potter, which is an interesting choice.
A gay potter.
A gay potter. And he's doing it like the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
That very
and then all of a sudden the wolf is behind him, just like that very famous
like Patrick
scene.
Swayze.
That took me all the way out.
And it has like a bloody end to that hallucination. But I appreciate that tone, but again, that's like the only real element that feels that way. And I wonder what this would have felt like if there were more elements and accents like that.
You already mentioned this with all of the healthcare providers. They all have a poster in their office of a dog.
It's a cat. It's a kitten.
That's a cat?
It's a kitten, I'm
It
pretty
looks
sure.
like a Pomeranian. There's a dog or a cat, but it's the same poster next to a bottle of champagne, and then the pet like winks at him. What did you think that was supposed to represent?
His devolving sanity. But he sees it from jump and always fixates on it. So I don't
know. I have to talk about hair. The wig they put on Debra Wilson, that was a hate crime. That wig looked like it had been in the bag, and then someone sat on the bag.
Well, just like Debra Wilson, I associate so much with Mad TV or playing Oprah in Scary Movie 4. And
and I follow her like outside of that, so I know that she has a buzzed head.
No, I like her a lot.
But... So it was jarring to kind of see her with hair on, and then the fact that it's not. It really looks like the wig was in the bag, and someone put it under the couch, and then when it was time to film, they took it out, and just threw it on her ass. But oh my god.
Well, yeah, it's bad enough that it's like, are you about to do a Dionne Warwick impression or
the wolf worked well for me in that. So in the beginning, when we see the wolf, it has a more sort of horrific look. Like it's like the color, it's dark. The eyes look like they're glowing. It looks more menacing. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, when Will is in the psychiatric hospital, the wolf is there with him, sitting like across from him, and it's sitting like legs crossed, demure. It's a lighter color. The mask, like the face,
shiny and clean,
is more friendly looking,
like a child's Halloween costume.
And I thought that was very effective in representing that.
Well,
this is something he'll have to live with, like
the Babadook.
But
yeah, he's also says like, "Oh, you look better too." I like those elements of it. It's just.
But then but then the film ends with another corny sequence. It's a montage because Debra Wilson, as a psychiatrist, asks Will, yes. "I can help you if you're ready to do the work." And then we get a montage that was akin to True to the Game 2, when Quadir gets shot and then he's in rehab in that like safe house that looks like it's literally on the corner.
That's a very good parallel reference,
right?
Yes.
And it's just like so corny. Like there's this montage of him lifting weights.
We don't even need that.
No.
In fact, for the final moment to be effective, we don't need that sequence at all. We get the implication that him being there is his willingness to do that.
I don't have anything else, but I really appreciate gay stories. I think that this person's story, like based on a real breakdown, is fascinating but also horrifying, and I'm sure it's very personal. I just think that the way it's crafted feels like a little cheap.
Yeah, I think maybe some budgetary constraints and how certain sequences are edited together also seem to make this feel subdued and a little muted, especially considering kind of the extravagant direction it's going to. It reminded me in positive ways of a 2014 film directed by Stephen Dunn called Closet Monster, which I believe is Canadian, but also dealing with that this element of queer trauma where this young boy coming out is having these violent fantasies of being penetrated by rods, and it also reminded me a little bit of Elizabeth Wurzel's memoir Prozac Nation, which was made into a film with Christina Ricci. These young adults having these mental health issues that are kind of horrific without a support system. It's not a film that I like feeling that I didn't care for, because there were good elements about it, but it also just feels like it misses the mark a little.
There's also full male frontal nudity, if you care about that. What would you give this film?
2.5.
I would give it 2.5 as well. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.